Hi everyone, this is Shayla Gaither here, and I made this sample infographic on Canva. Today I'm going to describe to you first of the 5 series lessons, but first of all I'm going to describe about backgrounds and typography. At the end result, you can create something that looks like this for Professor J's class or for any other assignment where you have to make an infographic or graphics on Canva. So I'm going to first start off with my Canva. So this is my Canva, and it's a free website that you can use, and it's an interface where you can create all sorts of different types of graphics, whether you want to do cards or flyers. But for today, we're going to be doing an infographic. So we're going to hit create design. For this infographic, we need to make sure it's 8.5 inches by 14 inches. How do you do that? You hit the custom, you hit 8.5 and 14. Make sure that this is not locked because you don't want locked dimensions. And instead of pixels, make sure it's in inches. And create your design. Now you're going to get a blank white piece, and you're going to have an untitled document and multiple options you can do. First of all, I would just name your creation. So you have sample, and it's white. So we want to make sure that this graphic looks really interesting. If we're trying to replicate it to the sample, how do we do that? There are multiple ways to have a background. So you make sure that this part is selected. See how it has a blue outline? That means the background is selected. And you can have default colors. So standard colors like black or white or gray, blue, dark blue, or green. This is a way to make a simple background color. Or you can have your own color. Let's say you're doing a specific brand or you're doing a specific organization and they have a specific color of red. You can actually insert the color ID here, and it automatically is going to populate a background color that corresponds. So let's see. The last color I did was this dark green hunter color. But for infographics, specifically on something about health, we usually stick to colors like blues and whites and something that's really bright. So let's do a nice, soft, but blue off-white color, just for example. That is how you have one type of background. Another way you can create a background is by hitting elements. So elements is where you can do different shapes, grids, frames, charts, which we will get to later, lines, also what we'll get to later, and other graphics that you can make your infographic really interesting. But for today, I want to try putting in gradient. So I used on the sample a gradient as my background. So let's just get rid of this background. I hit the delete key, and I took this blue to purple gradient. So what I did was you use these 4 white dots in the corners and hover your arrows until you see these 2 arrows, hold and drag. Now I hold it and drag it until it's right outside the document. This will allow it to be fully covered. In addition, you notice how when I move it using these arrows, that there are hot pink lines. These hot pink lines will show you whether your graphic is in center or if it's off center. Sometimes you can choose, but for most assignments you will want it to be centered. So I'm going to center this, and then I'm going to lock it in place, so that way if you put anything over this, it won't move. But for now, we're still going to change the colors. So let's make it a little bit lighter. So let's have the one color, this light blue color, be white. And then let's have this purple color be more of a blue, because we're going to talk about dental hygiene and making sure you eliminate tooth decay. So this is going to give us a slight example of how you can have a background. Now you can play with this however you would like, and this helps make a really bright and fun background. I'm just going to edit this a little bit, and something like this. Now what you need is to have typography. So typography is when you have any sort of text or text box or subheading for your infographic. For today, let's just have dental, if I can spell dental, dental hygiene hygiene. And we are going to have specifically to teeth decay. Now, I think hygiene spelled with an I. Hygiene. E. Hygiene. So tooth decay and E decay. So this doesn't look exactly right. It has a nice title, but we don't have any pizzazz yet. So what you can do is hit uppercase. This makes sure that all the words are uppercase, and that way it's a nice big bold title for you to be able to attract someone to your infographic. Additionally, you have types of fonts over here. I try to just use Open Sans extra bold, but there are various types that you can use depending on the circumstance. I would try to use sans serif fonts. So sans literally means without. So it doesn't have the extra little ticks that this font has. Instead, it's nice and clear, and in general, it's easier to understand. This drop-down menu allows you to change the size of the font. So let's make sure we have something nice and big. And if you just hover over this text box, you can drag it so that way it can be all in one line, and then you can move it so that way it's centered. So this is one way how you can make a background and text. I would just like to include so you can have a text box. So if you hit text, add a little bit of body text. Here you can have a text body and put sample infographic for class. This will give you the body text you need. So let's say you're trying to describe dental hygiene or tooth decay. This can be perfect for underneath, so that way you can describe a little bit more about tooth decay. Similar rules apply, so you can just change the font, the size, and you can also change the color. So let's say we want it to be a blue color instead. We can have it to be a nice dark blue color. Same thing with dental hygiene. Ooh, that works really well with the colors that we chose. In the next session, we're going to be talking about elements and lines and how we can make this whole scene look a little bit more interesting.